How did you come
Ask
into
your
Krishna
question.
consciousness?
Both of Prabhu and Mahatma.
Miss Madhuri, how did you both came to Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, both of you have shared your
In 1984, I entered the University of Illinois as a graduate student in August. And several months later, in early '85, a person in my laboratory, one floor ahead of me, invited me to a vegetarian dinner. And I said, "Oh, is there a vegetarian club on campus that I'm not familiar with?" He said, "No, it's right across the street in this little coffee house, and it's done by the Hare Krishnas." As soon as he said the Hare Krishnas were having a vegetarian dinner, a bunch of red flags went off in my head, because previous to that, I was at the University of Michigan for my bachelor's degree from '80 to '84. And during that 4-year period, I did see devotees on my campus. They would be chanting, and there was like a big circle of them. And I thought they looked really attractive. I wanted to go over and meet them. They're both men and women. And I wanted to go over and meet them. But my friends told me, "Stay away from those people, they're zombies." So, being a very obedient friend, I didn't approach the devotees. So when my friend in the chemistry department invited me to a vegetarian dinner and he said it was the Hare Krishnas, I immediately flashed back to all my memories in Ann Arbor. So I remember my friend saying, "Don't go visit them, don't meet them, they're zombies." And one day I was walking across the campus in Ann Arbor, and there was a devotee standing there passing out flyers, to like invite people to their local preaching center. And he really actually was standing there like this, looking straight ahead, not looking, and there was like hundreds of students, right? Class change, for 10 minutes. And he was literally standing there looking straight ahead and just going like this. Like a robot. And I remember I said to myself, "Oh, these people really are zombies." So that made me want to stay away. But again, I kept seeing the devotees. Then one of those, I think it was the last summer I was there, I was walking across the street from my apartment to go to the chemistry building, and I passed by the corner where the devotees were all set up during the Ann Arbor Art Fair. They had a more elaborate setup. They had tables with books and all sorts of things and exhibits. And I thought, and I'm by myself now, I was no longer with that circle of friends. So now I thought, oh, now's my opportunity to meet these people. I see they have books. Oh, let me go over there and check out the books. So I start walking across the street to reach them, and halfway across the street, I looked and I saw what we refer to as the karma exhibit. It's a sculpture of a man with a cow's face holding an axe, and he's about to slaughter a cow that has a man's face. And it's called karma, the idea being the man kills the cow, and in his next life he's in that position, right? So anyway, I'm walking across the street and I see the karma exhibit, but I couldn't see all the details because I was still quite far away, and it was only about this big. And I saw a man killing a cow. I didn't see the interchange of the faces. So I thought, as soon as I saw that, I said, "Oh, these people are into violence. Not cool." And I just did a 180 and walked the other way, never to think of those people again, never to look at them again, because my understanding was these people are into violence. So then I went to the University of Illinois, and so when my friend invited me to the vegetarian dinner, I thought, well, what do the Hare Krishnas have to do with vegetarianism? Because I saw them wanting to kill a cow, right? So yeah, I went to the dinner, And it was done by two very nice devotees, Mitrasena Prabhu and his wife Mahara. And I loved the dinner. It was $2 all you can eat. And then when we were leaving, the friend that invited me and I were leaving, Mitrasena was playing his guitar and chanting Hare Krishna. And he had a sign, the Mahamantra sign. But Krishna was spelled K-R with a dot, S with a dot, N with a dot, A. So I looked at the sign and I heard him singing and I was like, K-R-S-N-A. You can't have 4 consonants in a row without a vowel. And I said, is this like Russian? I didn't know what language it was or anything. And my friend said, oh, that's their song that they sing. And they sing it over and over. And I said, that's all? They just sing the same thing over and over? He said, yep, that's it. I sing that over and over. And I just thought, okay. And then we left. And then the second week I went, I saw the book table. And it had so many books, but I couldn't pronounce the titles, like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. I couldn't pronounce it. And I thought, I wonder why they have Arabic books on the table. Why do they have these foreign language books on the table? I only know English. And I thought, well, maybe it's just some kind of display, like ancient history. Okay, whatever. Then the third week I went back. I kept going back because I liked the prasadam. And then I think it might have been the second week I went back. They would go down the row and you put your $2 donation in the basket, and then you have your meal. And the 2 students in front of me, when Mahara came down with the basket to collect the $2 from everybody, they refused to pay. And she was like, oh, okay. And they just said, in a mean tone, they said, well, donation means voluntary, so we don't have to pay, so we're not going to give you anything. And I was standing behind them, and I just thought, wow, these people are so mean, So then I pulled out a $20 bill and put the whole $20 bill in the basket. I said, I'm going to pay for all these mean people, And I guess Mahara saw that I put $20 in, so she started reciprocating with me. This is the science, right? The more you give devotional service, you get reciprocation. So the next week when I went back for the dinner, she was walking around with a basket with magazines. And so she had several magazines. One was called Back to Godhead. And I thought, oh, that's about God. I'm not religious. And the other one was called Who Are They? Which was basically, who are the Hare Krishnas? And I was like, I'm not interested like that. Another one was called Atma, which was a one-time magazine which had articles just about general culture and philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And I didn't even know what Atma was, like an acronym for something, or whatever, so I skipped it. Then the 4th magazine said, Origins, Higher Dimensions, and Science. I said, oh, I'm a scientist, I can read that one. So I took the Origin magazine home. And the next day I had free time, so I started on page 1. And I started reading that magazine, and I was just taken aback because everything they said I agreed with. Basically, that magazine's about 6 articles that review modern theories, scientific theories that deal with origins of life, origins of the species, origins of the universe, origins of consciousness. So, and they do a really nice job of showing that the modern theories, which use a mechanistic paradigm for understanding origins, that these modern theories have a lot of holes in them, a lot of flaws and, insufficiencies. So I read that magazine and I was like, yeah, I agree with everything I read. And then the very last article, it's called Higher Dimensions in Science. It introduced the Vedic idea of origins, and it quoted from Bhagavad Gita. So I kept seeing Bhagavad Gita, which I couldn't pronounce, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So I said, now I have to read that book. Because it was like, if that's the book that had all these answers are coming from. So anyway, so then the next week I went back, I did get a copy of Bhagavad Gita and learned how to pronounce it. And I got a couple other small books. And I just started reading and I couldn't put the books down. And as soon as I started reading Prabhupada's books, of course, reading Prabhupada's books meant spending a lot of time looking at the pictures because I never saw a picture of Krishna before in my life. So one of the books I had was Krishna book. And so many beautiful pictures. So I was just like shocked like when I was looking at the pictures. I said, this is what God looks like? And then it made me remember back when I was 6 years old, you know, when we have our stories, how did we come to Krishna consciousness? It actually starts from a long time ago, not just the day I met a devotee, you know. So anyways, then it made me remember that when I was 6 years old, I asked my mother, what does God look like? And she couldn't answer. She said, I don't know. And I was very disappointed because until that point, my mother answered all my questions, you know? So now as a child, I was disappointed that Mom can't answer a question. And so I just had this urge inside me, I want to know what God looks like. And she told me, you have to wait till you die, and then you go to heaven, right? Because when you die, you go to heaven, because I was baptized Catholic. So if you're baptized Catholic, you go to heaven. And then when you go to heaven, you'll meet God, and you'll know what he looks like. And I just thought, well, why don't I just die right now? No, you don't want to do that. So I spent the rest of my life with all these questions about God that nobody could answer. The priests and the nuns, you know, at the school and church, my parents, whatever. Totally not satisfactory answers. So I just put the whole thing on the back burner and became an agnostic when I went to college. I just figured nobody has the answers. And then in January of '85 is when, I guess it was Super Soul, just gave me like this real existential crisis. And I was like in tears. And I just said, I have to know if God is real or not. I need to know the answer like right now. Is God actually real or not? Because I have to go one way or the other. I'm either going to become a hardcore atheist or the other way, right? So I just like offered a prayer to whatever God is, that I really do believe you exist, but I need a sign. I need a sign that you exist because I'm on the verge of becoming an atheist, you know? Who knows what else I would have done. In any case, maybe 2 months later is when my friend who was the floor above me said, hey, you want to go to a vegetarian dinner? And as soon as I had the prasadam, I was affected. Then as soon as I started reading the literature, I was just like practically in tears. I was just so overwhelmed because all those memories come flashing back to me. Me standing in the bathroom asking my mother, what does God look like, as she's trying to get me ready for bed. And, you know, all the times I saw devotees in Ann Arbor, and all these things just came flashing back to me. And I was convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was an answer to my prayer in January, when I had prayed that, God, I know you exist, but I don't know who you are. I need a sign. And as soon as I started reading Prabhupada's books, every sentence made total sense. I mean, not that it doesn't mean I understood the books, but at the same time, they made total sense. Like as though I'd heard it before, you know? Answering questions about why we take birth here and the laws of karma, which I had never heard about karma or reincarnation. I mean, I heard the words, like I knew how to spell them, but I didn't know what they meant. And so as I learned all these things, it all became like, yeah, this is the absolute truth. And I was overwhelmed with the pictures, the art in the books, that why nobody ever showed me what God looks like? Why did I have to wait 23 years to find out what God looks like? And I just was overwhelmed with this I got to tell other people. Why is this a big secret? So then I actually left the PhD program. I only completed 1 year, and because I decided that I'd rather teach people about Krishna consciousness than teach people organic chemistry. I felt like it was more important. So then I actually left the university, disappointed some people at the university, but then I moved into the Chicago Temple, and
What's
that's
your
about
parents'
it.
reaction?
I'm sorry?
What's your parents' reaction?
Um,
The PhD program.
Yeah, well, it wasn't good. I'll spare you, I won't tell the details, but it wasn't good. So that's, you could say that's how I came to Krishna consciousness, although we don't know what was in the past, before that. But I was very overwhelmed by Prabhupada's mercy coming through his books and coming through his devotees. Oh, and every week I would go to the dinner, and every week Mitra Sena and Mahara would give me, like, okay, here, now you get neck beads. Oh, and so I was going to the dinners, and I saw the devotees were wearing neck beads, and they had japa beads, and I just thought everything was very beautiful. And I remember I was reading the books, and I was thinking to myself, I wish I had neck beads like that. The very next week, Mahara offered me neck beads without me asking. I didn't ask. I just at home said, I wish I had neck beads like that. The next week she offered me neck beads. Then at one point I was saying, I wish I had japa beads, because it'd be kind of a hassle to make your own, buy beads and string and make them. So I wish I had japa beads like they have. The next week she offered me japa beads. It's just like, so I saw Krishna's reciprocation. And I was starting to read Bhagavatam because she gave me like the first volume and then some volume in the middle. And I was so overwhelmed with what I read that I just immediately wrote the BBT and ordered the whole set of Bhagavatams. So I was probably the only student at the University of Illinois that had the whole set of Bhagavatams. So that was it. Which, we all have that experience, reading Prabhupada's books and meeting devotees and having prasadam and hearing kirtan, but just how everything falls into place differs for each of us.
How is the life in Krishna consciousness? It's almost like 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, it's been 33.
33.
3 years.
Yeah, how is the life and ups and downs in this process?
It's actually been pretty steady. I would say that when I first joined the temple, I did go for a couple of years having some ups and downs in my convictions, just because, Maya Devi has to test you to make sure you're allowed to stay there. So I had some doubts that were haunting me, but somehow I just stuck with it, and those doubts just really went away. And then I think it was late '89 when we got married, and since then things have been going very smoothly. So.
And how did you found your spiritual master?
I took initiation
Yeah.
from His Holiness Ganapati Swami, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and I met him when I was still at the university, because that dinner program that was happening, Mitra Sena and Mahara, they were actually in the Chicago temple, and they would cook the whole prasadam meal at 6 o'clock in the morning or something, and then at noon or so they would drive down to my university. It was like 2.5 hours to 3 hour drive, and maybe every other week they would bring another devotee with them. Sometimes they'd come by themselves, sometimes they'd bring another devotee or two. So Ganapati Swami Maharaj came once or twice a month to that dinner program at the U of I. So I actually met him right from the get-go, So that was wonderful, because Krishna arranged that I, got to form a relationship right from the beginning, even before I moved into the temple. So then I was initiated in February of '87 in Chicago front of Kishore Kishori.
You said you always felt like that he was a guru figure for you.
Yeah, I felt like from the very beginning when I met him that I think this might be my spiritual master. Not in a sentimental way, but just we had a connection and he played an important role in my cultivation, you know? Wasn't just like a stranger or something. So it was a small, Chicago had a small quantity of devotees at the temple, so we had nice relationships and we got to know each other. And he actually spent a lot of time in Chicago until end of '87. So daily classes, morning and night, and a lot of personal guidance. So it was just natural. It was Krishna's arrangement. I didn't make any arrangements, obviously. So that's my story.
Mata, how was your experience like when you're chanting? Like, have you started like one round in a day or like?
When I got the beads, I started chanting 4 rounds a day, and then I quickly went to 10, and then it was Krishna Janmashtami of '85, and I think it was Maharaj himself who said, "Well, you're doing 10. Why don't you just do 16? Try 16. It's a good time to start on Janmashtami." So then from there on, I did 16. But I wasn't a family person with a job and children and this and that. And I kind of backed off on my work at the university. So I had time to hear and chant before you and I moved into the temple.
Yesterday I was asking Prabhuji the same question, like, what's keeping motivated so much, like, it's the same routine life, right? Like, you see, like, because you're completely fully devoted now, you see the same, books are, same, going out and settling, and then what's keeping you motivated, like, keep going, like?
We can say, oh, it's the same chanting, the same books, the same practices every day, but if we're actually doing it properly, it's not the same. It should be, it improves in quality, and that means therefore there's newer and fresher realizations and understandings coming. So I always tell the students when we're distributing Bhagavad Gita that you're not just getting one book when you take Bhagavad Gita. This is like getting 100 books because you can read it 100 times and it's like reading a whole new book from the last time. So our hearing and chanting should be ever fresh.
I'm reading like 9th time or 10th time, but every time it's like new.
Right.
I may do like
Exactly.
I don't know in my lifetime so many, but this day before yesterday I completed 9th time.
Nice.
The whole cycle.
Mhm.
Then I became that.
Yeah,
It's like,
very nice. So that's the only way we can keep our enthusiasm, is if we're,
And Krishna arranged me the driver and everybody, so in the morning I get 30 minutes of time, quality time.
mhm.
And I keep telling the devotees, morning I go by bus to my work. Krishna arranged the driver, I don't have to drive. And I sit back and read quality time, 30-35 minutes.
Mhm.
In the morning, 6:30.
So if we give quality time to Krishna, then he gives quality realizations back to us.
So I feel like
So that's the only way we can be enthusiastic, is if we get fresher realizations. Otherwise it might come across as mundane if it doesn't move forward, And the only way we can get fresher realizations is if we make fresher investments. We have to, like in stock market, if you invest 1 penny, you're not going to get a whole lot back. If you invest $10,000, you might get $1 million back. So we have to invest in Krishna, and then he invests in us by giving us fresher realizations.
I'm doing both, Mataji. The only 2 things I'm doing, investing in Krishna, investing in stock.
So that you have money to serve Krishna with.
Right now I'm doing that actually. And right now, when I talk to my friends, I have only 2 jobs to do. Invest in Krishna, invest in stock market. Don't talk other things, it's all rubbish. I do only 2 things now.
Good.
Even I tell my wife.
Good. Goddess Lakshmi is Narayan's consort, so it's legitimate. if you use that Lakshmi in Krishna's service.
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah.
You'll be tested.
I'll be- yeah.
They maybe tell one or two things what Prabhupada used to tell for neophyte devotees who come, like how to stick to the moment and how to improve like that.
Well, whenever devotees, my understanding was when devotees would express to Srila Prabhupada their unsteadiness, their inability to, keep their vows or whatever, he would just very strongly say, just keep your vows. Chant your 16 rounds a day. Get up for Mangalarti. They're living at the temple. They don't have all these other responsibilities in the world. So whenever they would express inability to be steady, his formula was just be steady. I mean, nothing stops us from being steady except our own mind. So it takes determination, right? And then Rupa Goswami tells us how to have determination in Nectar of Instruction, texts 2 and 3. He tells us the 6 things to avoid, because if we don't avoid them, they'll destroy our determination, and the 6 things to follow, that if we follow those 6 things, we will have determination. So unless we're following the formula, we can't expect to be successful. So that's how we keep our determination, is by vowing to do so. We take the vow. Like Prabhupada would say, well, you made a vow. So why did you make the vow if you can't follow it? Well, I thought I could. Okay, now you're discovering you're weak. Okay, then go to Nectar of Instruction and follow those 2 instructions by Rupa Goswami found in text 2 and 3. Then your determination will be, back on fire.
It's very nice to hear about Mitra Prabhu's, in the whole ISKCON. I always feel like whenever I meet him, even though such a senior Vaishnava, it's kind of like such an excellent human being. And we always take selfies whenever we meet Mitra Prabhu now. We really want to invite him to Omaha and Maharamataji.
He'll get the whole yatra very enlivened with kirtan.
Yes, he's different. He plays on different instruments. And
He makes his own instruments.
yes, yes.
Mitra means friend, so
Yeah.
it's Mitra Sena.
Circle of friends.
So he's everyone's friend.
Yes.
He just mailed Donna Kelly when she put on Facebook that we were in Omaha, and he had 4 people that he had met different places that live in Omaha. He said, please notify them that you're there and Janmashtami is there.
Wow.
So he's very thoughtful. He collects names.
Yeah, he's in UK. I see. It's
Mhm.
in UK.
He said recently. He said, "I don't preach to anyone anymore. I just sit down and chant with them." Because he's a musician. He goes to play. He's very, very good on guitar.
The first day I met him, what he did is, he asked me to sit, and we started taking one verse, and we read back and forth. That's it, and we became friends. And no preaching. Open Srila Prabhupada books. Let's sit and read this purport. Sloka translation purport.
Where was that?
New Vrindavan. I met him in Kulimela.
Mhm.
10th year, Kulimela. Yeah.
He has many disciples, if you will, like lots
Yes.
of people that he's brought to Krishna consciousness.
He goes to this, rock bands and all this, festivals. So he keep posting in the Facebook.
Mhm.
Yeah. He promised that he will stop by in
Good,
Omaha sometime.
You just have to keep inviting him.
Yes.
Mataji, have you been visited to any other country other than India for preaching?
No, we stay in America and travel mostly to universities. And what's the need to go to other countries for so-called preaching when there's about 330 million Americans to deal with?
Especially America is like a tough place to teach to Americans. 90% of our friends of Krishna Consciousness in America are from India. So,
So at one point, 90% of the God consciousness, even here, like when Prabhupada came, every nook and corner they have churches. That means people are God fearing and they have God consciousness. I think now slowly it's going, church rates, going to church, Sunday services dropping, and like
It's
maybe-
everywhere. I'm saying, sure for India also.
yeah,
People don't go to temples as they used to
it's coming down
because of the
everywhere.
pubs and things increasing in India.
Mm-hmm.
All the fast food chains.
Maybe Kali Prabhav is more because he's stopping to
Inflation.
everywhere, not only India, entire earth. Yeah, it's kind of-
someone said that the fastest growing religion all over the world is apatheism.
Oh, really?
Means
We don't
apathy.
care, we're not
Apathy.
interested, we don't care, we don't need it.
Yeah, okay.
I've got my job, I have my technology, I have some money in the bank.
That's it.
I'm okay. And that's what a lot of students say to us. Oh, no, thanks, I'm okay.
I'm good, is what they say. I'm good. We say, no, you're not.
Is it really a big challenge to talk about Krishna consciousness with these young kids? Because I know you do a lot of book distribution. Maybe you really have to deal with a lot.
I mean, it's a challenge, but we're presenting the books to them, primarily Bhagavad Gita, and so our job is to get the book into their life and let Prabhupada speak to them. And then they have our contact information if they want to contact us, to ask questions or whatever. But most of the people we meet, we only have a 2-3 minute interaction with them because they're on their way to class or whatever. So our objective is to get a book in their hand and contact information into their hand. And after that, it's up to them and Paramatma to direct them.
We feel
have
a
to be counseled.
little badly because even if someone gets a book, even devotees we know, even ourselves coming, the book wasn't enough, it was the association of devotees. Because even as Donnie Kelly said, there's all these doubts surface as we start becoming serious, and you need association of devotees to help you get over the hurdles. So somebody who just got a book, and they're totally plugged into this very strong, fast-paced academic career. Can't really expect so much. But we just have faith that these are, seeds of Krishna consciousness, and someplace they'll fructify somewhere. Even the person that gets the book, he might not be the person that actually reads it. He may give it to someone else or leave it on a shelf, someone takes it. We've heard many of those stories also. Someone gets a book from somewhere, as the light goes on.
So because we shouldn't be staying much longer,
One more question. Do you have any experiences where they got back to you after you gave them contact and they became devotees like that, or?
We've had people contact us, for some communication, but then they kind of fall off the map and don't continue.
That's true.
But we've met a couple of people who said, like one woman who said to us, I got a book from you in 1996 at Mount Rushmore when we did a book table there in the summer of '96. She just got a higher taste from us. And she immediately went to the Detroit Temple and got Association of Devotees and became a devotee, and she's still a devotee. Now she has like 6 kids and they're all devotees. And this past winter, we visited New Taliban Farm in Mississippi, and there was one bhakta there, and I was like, okay. And then one day he finally came up to us, he said, I don't know if you remember me, but I remember you. that you two did a book table at my university, like 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, 10 years ago or something, at Middle Tennessee State University in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And he said, do you remember? And all of a sudden I actually remembered him coming and spending time at our table talking to us. And he had already gotten the Bhagavad Gita at like a music concert previously. And then from us he got the first volume of the Bhagavatam and one other book. And anyway, he said, you guys spent time with me and really helped me. And so after you gave me those books, I finished the school year and then I became a devotee. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of the books that are out there, somehow people are becoming devotees, but we don't know because they're not contacting us.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard to say.
That other Mahabharata, what's his name? Is it Oregon?
Oh yeah, and another, that's right, a third boy that we're aware of used to meet us at the Illinois State University. Every semester when we would go there, he would get a book from us and talk to us. And then after he graduated, he became a devotee. But the Association of Devotees, regular association is what's needed. So when we actually did a preaching center at the University of Illinois from 2002 to 2011, and during that period when we could actually be with people and feed them prasadam and spend time with them on a personal level, then we were able to see a number of people become devotees. And as far as from book distribution, we don't know because we don't have contact with them, and the people are all over the place, you know.
Mostly students, and they move on.
Yeah.
And we're moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we stopped and did a preaching center at the university, because people were asking us, well, everywhere we went, people, do you have a place in town where you're giving classes? And after a while we started feeling badly. So we thought, well, maybe we should, she had an inspiration one summer we were out west. We should do a preaching center.
Yeah.
So we tried it.
Would you like to know your story?
Yes, now quickly. Should we just switch positions?
Just-